Hi, welcome to the Colors of Prague. This is Season 4, Episode 15. I'm Louis Paul, and this is a YouTube show where I discuss progressive rock recordings, past and present, from all around the world, and the occasional concert, progressive rock. So today, PFM, again, yes. It's a box set this time I'm discussing. It's called Il Suono del Tempo, The Sound of Time. And it was released 2015, I believe, recorded live May 30th and 31st, 2014 in Tokyo, Japan. Here it is. And featured in this 5 LP vinyl set are PFM's first 5 albums. So on May 30th, they performed Un Minuto, a minute. The original album was called Story of a Minute, Storia di un Minuto. Un Amico, per un Amico, for a friend. A Ghost, originally released as photos of ghosts. Un Isola di Niente, and the world became the world. Here's the back of the box set. So let me go through all this, and for those unfamiliar with PFM, one of the great Italian progressive rock bands. This is a hefty box, by the way. Well, it has 5 vinyl albums in there, covers and all. So, PFM are really called Premiata Fonderia Marconi, which is translated into English, award-winning Marconi Bakery, but everybody calls them PFM for short. Apparently, the story goes, the one that called themselves Marconi Bakery, and their management at the time said, well, it's a bit short, and you're not bakers. So they added award-winning, but everyone refers to them as PFM for short, because otherwise. Originally formed as the band I Quelli in 1970, when those band members from I Quelli met Mauro Pagani from the band Dalton, which some of you might be familiar with, they joined forces and became PFM. Their first album, Story of the Minute, Storia di un Minuto, was released in 1972. The original lineup consisted of Franz Di Cioccio on percussion vocals, Franco Masaida on guitars and vocals, Mauro Pagani on flute, violin, and vocals, and Flavio Promoli on lead vocals and all kinds of keyboards, including Mellotron, Mini Moog, harpsichord, and Giorgio Piazzi on bass. Now, only 34 minutes long, it's one of the most important and well-regarded albums in rock progressive Italiano, or RPI as it's also referred to, as it's become known. Effortlessly swinging from classical to jazz to heavy Crimson-inspired sounds, and not forgetting the Italian country's love affair with dramatic songs about love, life, politics, but not so much as other bands like Aria, which lean very much to the left. PFM kind of kept their fan base for a long time because they weren't a political band, but they managed to work some of that into there. For a Friend, Per un Amico, also clocking in at a taut 34 minutes, that's the second album, was also released in 1972. And it continues the trend of Italian progressive music, no doubt influenced by the heavy touring done in that country by British bands like Crimson, Genesis, ELP, among others. In fact, Great Lake of ELP was so enamored of PFM, he signed them to ELP's Manticore label. Pete Sinfield, lyricist for King Crimson from 68 to 71, was brought in to rewrite the lyrics for most of the second album and one song from the first album. He rewrote those into English language. Now the band re-recorded those vocals, the original PFM, into English, but they used the original backing tracks. Now they released that in the US and the UK and other English-speaking countries, and also in Italy, as Photos of Ghosts in 1973. And that was one of the first PF albums released in English on Manticore. The Isola di Niente, the Island of Nothing, saw a new bass player, Patrick Jeeves, join, and that was released in 1974. Patrick is still with PFM, by the way. The addition of more use of synthesizers and even a choir in selected moments sees the band at a high point. How many progressive rock bands from anywhere were using choirs in their songs? Although the Rolling Stones used one famously for You Can't Always Get What You Want from Let It Bleed, released in November 1969. Some people seem to think it's a 1970 release, but that was late 1969. So there were bands using that but in Prog, not too much. Afterwards, this appeared. The World Became the World is another Pete Sinfield, Manticore production, this time including all of The Island of Nothing in English, with one song from Story of a Minute, the first album. What's different from Photos of Ghosts, the other English language album from PFM, is that the band decided to re-record all the music. Since they were re-recording the vocals in English, they decided to make it fresher, so they re-recorded all the music as well. This was also released in Italy, this English language version, but it ended a phase of sorts for the band. So, 40 years later, PFM celebrated their first 5 albums, and I forgot one. The World Became the World. And that, to not confuse you, The Island of Nothing is The World Became the World. So when you see the world became the world, that's the English version of The Island of Nothing. Confusing? Sorry for the glare. I wanted to straighten that up before I went further. So, again, 40 years later, PFM celebrated their first 5 album releases, which is 3 Italian language albums and 2 English language releases with these Tokyo concerts. By this time, only the 3 original core band members remained, with Franz capably taking on the lead vocals and percussion, Franco Masaida on guitars and vocals, and Patrick Jeeves on bass, with 2 keyboard players and an additional percussionist. Now, this is cool. There's also an 8-person Japanese choir that appeared on The World, much as there was a choir that appeared on the original Italian and English language version. Released in December of 2015 in both a limited 5 CD box set as well as a limited 5 LP vinyl set, it just sounds spectacular. And yes, it was one of the missing recordings in my PFM collection, but I'm glad I have it now. Um, so before I go, I wasn't going to do this, but I just wanted to show you the attention brought. This is photos of Ghost. In this version, they called it A Ghost. The world became the world. Quite nice. The island of nothing, called the island, which actually is the Italian version of the world became the world, but they performed that as well as Ghost in English. My friend, from my friend, pretty cool. And Story of a Minute, the debut, called here Un Minuto. Very nice vinyl collection. There was a CD in this box set. Un Amico, per Un Amico. It matches the live vinyl. Now, supposedly, I've read that the vinyl box set came with a CD for each vinyl recording. I've only gotten one. This was sealed in the original wrapper, so it wasn't tampered with. It could have been a factory thing, or maybe they just threw in one there as a taste. Anyway, great live set, live in Tokyo, 2014, Tokyo, Japan, PFM. It's not cheap, but if you look around, you may find it. This was going for anywhere close to 200, if not more, on Discogs and eBay. And I found it from a United States dealer. I don't know if he has any more or how many he has. Symphonic, located in Utah, I believe. And not shilling for him, but I'm saying if you're interested in this and you have a hole in your collection, I really recommend it. So that's our show today, PFM Live.